Good evening, everyone. I'm Nazneen Yasmin. I'm the studio manager for Bangalore. Welcome to the Groha Intellect Masterclass in association with NASA, National Association of Students of Architecture. It's wonderful to see all of you here today as we embark on a journey of inspiration, learning, and enlightenment in the world of architecture and design. Let me introduce the partnership that has made today's workshop masterclass possible. Groha Intellect, a dynamic platform under Groha. We curate exclusive sessions and workshops to inspire the architect and design community, fostering meaningful dialogues and bringing in together ignited minds for mutual learning and inspiration. Joining us this pursuit is NASA India, a globally recognized architecture student organization that boasts participants from over 300 colleges. Established in 1957, NASA India provides a crucial learning and networking platform through various online and offline initiatives, including events, seminars, workshops, and competitions. Together, these esteemed organizations have created our masterclass series to inspire the next generation in the architecture and design. In our ever-evolving industry, we recognize that the wisdom and experiences of leading experts offer invaluable insights beyond traditional classroom learning. Today, we are honored to welcome a remarkable figure in the architecture and design world. A leader celebrated at the Iconic Designer of India 2024 and listed on the Asia Pacific Property Awards 2024 and also Top 30 Indian Architects 2023. Please join me in welcoming architect Reza Kabul. Please give him a round of applause. He's better known as the pioneer of high-rise architecture in India. He's an esteemed name in the Indian architecture and design fraternity. His projects range from hospitality giants such as the Taj Group of Hotels, Property by Marriott, Hyatt, and Hilton, to key real estate players such as Kanakya Group, Crescent Developers, Ekta World, and Seth Creators, many more. We are privileged to have such an inspiring figure with us today. Reza sir will share his insights. Reza sir will share his insights on the rise of vertical communities, redefining urban living. Let's make the most of this opportunity to absorb knowledge and ignite our minds and leave here inspired. Now I'll hand over the mic to Reza sir.
Thank you. I think I'm already mic'd. I don't need one. Thank you, Groha and NASA, and thank you, students, for being here. It's an honor to be with students again, because you learn from students also. Every time I go to a college or somewhere, or students ask you some questions, and those questions, again, teach you. So I love this session, and I'm enjoying it today again. So today we are going to be talking about, high-rises. Why high-rises came into being. Earlier, we didn't have any high-rises because there was no technology and there was land in abundance. Today, what has happened with the growing population, and as we go through the entire presentation and the journey, I will explain to you what happened and how the whole verticality of cities started. Yeah, so the topic of today's this thing is the rise of vertical communities, redefining urban living. So, urbanization, an overview. How urbanization came into existence and why. So, firstly, if we look at it, urbanization can be described as a process where majority of the people move from rural areas into cities and towns, leading to the growth and development of urban cities. So when the population started growing, urbanization started, people started moving to urban areas for better life, better, you get better jobs, you get better, growth. So they started moving to urban areas. And then what happened is cities started becoming more dense. So if you look at the graph that is out here, in 2010, if you look at it, 35% of the entire population, that is 6 billion, lived in cities. And they were mostly in the US. In China, it was 630 million. India, it was 368 million. When we are looking at the graph, which is projected, in 2050, we are going to have 875 million living in India in urban cities. And in China, it's going to be 1,038 million. So you can see how the urbanization is going to take place and how dense our cities are going to go. So we have to plan for it from today and how we can address those things. So if we look at it, initially when we started way back in the 80s, 70s, they were all small cities and they were vertical. They were horizontal. And it was less dense. Then we started growing because the population started growing, so we came to medium rise. And then we started looking at high rises. So the same land parcel started getting reused and in a better form, in a better way, because the urbanization took place. So the number of people that were housed in a low density, low rise is, 7 times or 8 times. Today you look at the major cities, like in Mumbai also we have an FSI of 8, 7. In Hong Kong and San Francisco, it's 12 and 15. It all depends on the density, where it is, and how much it is in the urban, this thing. So, since land is limited, God stopped making land. So we have to reuse the land and use it very efficiently in a better way. And what happened is, for the social economical advantages of the land, better education, health, and sanitation, so people started moving to urban areas. And if you look at today what is there, Mumbai or Ahmedabad or Delhi or Bangalore, it's all become dense, and traffic is the major problem. So although the cities have grown, people have started moving to urban areas. They have got their lifestyle is changed. They were living in vertical cities, but then the major problem that we are facing is traffic. So would you like to live in a city which is, full of traffic, or you want to move to you want to move to a suburbs which is less dense? You got better amenities, you got better buildings. The family at least is relaxed, they are relaxed, they've got better amenities, while the male person or the second lady of the house is at work, they have better amenities. Now to do that, we have to have better infrastructure so that the people can start moving from the major downtowns into a two-tier city or a secondary city or a satellite city where people can live in a better environment and they can commute in a better way and a faster way. So if you look at, again, if you look at high-rises, just making simple high-rises is not going to be the solution. Always we have to look at a mixed use where, your office is same thing in the same complex or the same building or the same adjoining towers, or it is, you have your offices, your residences, and your retail spaces within this same complex in the vertical city. But just by doing vertical city, it's not going to be solved because you'll have vertical concrete jungles. So what we do is we should start looking at towers which are integrated, towers which have got terraces, towers which have got intermediate bridges, towers which are connected, so you don't use vehicles, you don't use fossil fuel, You don't lose time while you're traveling. The efficiency of the person is higher. So you have less covered floor space, integrated office, retail, and residential at one place, saves time for travel, boosts efficiency of users. So if you travel for 1 hour or 2 hours and you get to place of work, you're almost tired. You get back home, you got another 2 hours of travel. So you're losing almost 4 hours of your efficient time. So if you have something within one complex which is connected with bridges, with you can walk to work, you can travel within the same complex without even using a vehicle, that would increase your efficiency. It would reduce pollution. You would be using less fossil fuel, abandoned green spaces and agriculture, so you'll get more land for agriculture, because we are just developing our cities. We are just, using up all the land. We don't have any land for agriculture. And agriculture is the main thing. If we don't have that, what are we going to do? Just live without food? That's not possible. So we have to think, go vertical, and get them integrated. So this is an example of something like what is happening in Chicago, where the towers are there and they are all connected from underground. So that what happens is, even when it's snowing, even when it's bad weather, you do not have to be bothered about traveling between buildings or traveling between complexes. Your shopping areas, your retail, your subways, your trains, everything is well connected by underground networks. These are some of the examples of the mixed-use integrated townships, and how we can actually get better views. We can get elevated walkways. You have mixed-use these things, and the community, you live in a better lifestyle. That's another example of the Pinnacle in Singapore, which is connected horizontally or vertically. A lot of people just think that it is, it's a nice elevation. But it's not only elevation, it's got some, meaning to it, why it has been connected that way, why that, buildings are connected, so there are walkways, so that you don't have to, if you're living in one of these towers and you want to go to the last tower, you don't have to go down and then you, again, you go up the elevator, you're taxing this thing, you're using a lot of energy. So you just walk down to the half the level, you travel down, and then you walk horizontally and you go there. Plus, it is a covered place for you to use it for walks. Intermediate floors are there where you can, come down. It's a social gathering place. It's an extension to your living room. And there are a lot of pluses to that. It's just not an elevation feature like I've seen a lot of architects, what they're doing is they're just copying. They're putting two towers together and they're putting a bridge. What is the meaning of the bridge? That is not understood. So that is very important, that we have to understand when we are doing something. It's just not for doing it. So then we look at, how high-rises got evolved. It is just not that, it started and people started making high-rises. There was an evolution, because when you started building high, you needed technology. You needed a lot of infrastructure. You needed a lot of other stuff, because to go higher up, like something like these buildings, you need all those kind of technology and infrastructure. You need the equipment. You need the shuttering systems and everything that is required to build a high-rise building. Now, if you look at this, this was one of the first buildings. Chicago became, during the Industrial Revolution, it was one of the cities which started growing, and they started making high-rises because there were city centers, and they started making high-rises. So this was the first tall building. It was built in 1893 in Chicago, and it was 16-storied with 65.5 meters tall. It was built with very basic technology with stone, and exterior walls were also stone and brick, and with cast iron columns as well. So that is from 1885 to 1916 that these kind of buildings started being built. It was 60 meters to 90 meters. And these are some of the other examples. Then New York also started, doing high rises because the demand started growing. And then high rises is like somebody who wants to say, like a city wants to say, we have arrived. So they start doing something, which is the talk of the town. And that's how the high rises came. Like you see, Dubai made the Burj Khalifa just to say that they can grow taller. And they have the this thing of having the tallest building in the world today, at least, till Saudi comes up. So the characteristics of this first generation of high-rises is that, it was a compact shape, high quantities of thermal mass in facade, because they were, the walls, exterior walls, or this thing were load-bearing walls, low percentage of facade transparency. The windows were small because the technology wasn't there. Ventilation achieved by natural openings. So there was no air conditioning at that time. The electricity or the light fittings also were not, the lux levels and all were not up to the mark. And heating and elevators were the main consumers of energy. So when the high-rises came, there was this elevators that came in. And some of these elevators were gas-fired elevators. They were working with gas or with steam. It was not electric. At that time, we didn't have electrical elevators. So this is like the first generation building. If you see, this has got 20 to 30% of facade transparency because it was all load-bearing. The high-rise was there, so that windows were very much restricted. But then today, if we see the modern-day building, it's got 50 to 80% of facade transparency because we have more technology. The columns are better. We do steel buildings and various other technologies. The next came the second generation of high-rises, that is from 1916 to 1951. It was the Empire State Building that was in 1931, and it's in New York, 102 meters, 443 meters tall. It was a steel frame building and concrete floors, and some of them were with arches because they were larger spans. And that was from 1916 to 1951, and they went up to 450 meters. The characteristics of this second generation high-rises was, it was slender in shape, small volumes versus the large facade area that was there in the previous generation, high quality of thermal mass in facade, low percentage of facade transparency. Air conditioning became more common in offices and increased lighting requirements. So the electricity consumption started going up because of the air conditioning. So in this phase, that is the second generation, they started building buildings with larger base, and it started stepping and going up. So it was also called the wedding cake structures. So as it had a larger base, and then it kept on stepping and going up. So that was the second generation buildings. And these are the third generation buildings. They started in 1951 to 1975, and they went up to 500 meters. So here, if you see, there's more glass, less concrete. The core was in the center. And because the technology started changing, we got better high-speed elevators. But here we had only single glazed glasses. So the energy, again, consumption was very high. And so many buildings came up with black glass at this time, and that was called the black glass skyscrapers. So this was saying that towering glazed office blocks became fashionable as company headquarters. Glass curtain walls became the status symbol of confidence. Companies and silhouettes of glass towers a sign of prosperity of the city. So they wanted to make a statement, and that was what people started doing by making all these glass taller structures and this thing. Then we came to the fourth generation of high-rises, that's from 1976 to 2008. And during this period, we have the tallest tower, that is the Burj Khalifa, which is 829 meters. And here the high-rises, because we got a lot of technology, like today we can do, in 1 month we can do even 4 slabs. It's because the technology is there. Earlier we used to do, when I started my practice, we used to do maybe a slab a month, and they were smaller slabs. Today we can do them faster and better because of the technology, the shuttering that is there, because of the jump forms, because of various other technologies that is there, and the speed of elevators, like we're doing 5 meters a second, 6 meters a second. So things can be, you can travel, faster between the floors. You have destination control. The other thing that you look at in high-rises is taking energy from down, that is electrical energy from your ground floor to the upper level. So by taking cables, it's got a lot of energy loss that happens in the cables. So the bus bar started being used, and as I come to our projects, I'll show you, we used the first time in India a tower with a bus bar. So these are some of the other towers that came up during this period. And the benefits and the characteristics of these buildings are because we started using double glazed windows. In fact, now we are doing buildings with triple glazed windows, because one is for the energy loss, and the other thing is noise level, because of the cities are getting more noise here. The noise pollution is very high. So this is something what we've been working on since 2000. So this was the first tower that we attempted in Mumbai, and it was 153 meters tall. Here we did a lot of firsts, like we did a 4 meters per second. We got the elevators imported. As I said, here was the other things that we did was the bus bars. So bus bars are small, compact. They are aluminum panels which are stacked together, and electricity is transferred through that onto the floors. Because cables are very highly inflammable, and they can catch fire, it can be risky. So before this, bus bars were used only for industrial purposes. We used this the first time, of course it was used abroad, but then we used it first time in India, where we used the bus bars to take electricity, and every floor we have meter rooms, and the electricity is supplied from there. So the buildings, as we started growing tall, we have to make them energy efficient. We have to make them, safe for people to stay. All those innovations and everything that came in has to be used to, because these are, when there's a fire or there's an emergency or an earthquake, in these towers you have to be very careful. How do you evacuate people? So every time we do a tower, we do simulations. How people would evacuate, how much time would take for people to evacuate. And we have special fire elevators as well for the people to evacuate. So this is something about Mumbai, Mumbai's urban challenge. Mumbai faced a crisis with dilapidated buildings deemed. So for many years, if you see, every year in every monsoon, there were buildings collapsing. Why? Because they were so old. They were wood structures, steel structures. They were not maintained. And they would collapse in the monsoons because of the rains were very heavy and the water seeps, and then it used to collapse. So the government, along with a lot of the Pieta and architectural fraternity and everybody, came up with this redevelopment concept where the people who were living there, they were living in very bad conditions because the buildings were touching each other. if even there was a death, if the body had to be removed, or if there was an emergency, the patient had to be removed, it was a challenge. So people were living in very bad conditions. They were all old buildings from the British times. And the toilets was, the sanitary was very bad. It was all common outside. So their living conditions were very bad. So the government came up with this, and they started giving the permissions for high rises, giving extra FSI to the landowners so that they could build in that place. And we built the sale component so that the developer could get the funds for extra, making money and rehousing the existing tenants over there itself. So things started moving, and if you see, that is one of the city's major developments. And the previous one also I showed you, that also is a redeveloped this thing, where we had members staying, the tenants staying on the site. We moved them, we built our sale component, and we built a tower for them as well, and we housed them. So these are some of the towers that we have done and we are doing right now. This is a completed tower in Mumbai. There are 3 of them, 38 story. That is again 39 story. That is in Kukreja Infinity in Nagpur. It is 120 meters. That is Nagpur's tallest building. These are all completed towers. This is a tower. This was a competition we won in Sri Lanka. It was for the World Cup winners of Sri Lanka. And they came to us and they asked us, there was a competition, and they asked the architects to give them something which was, it resembled the World Cup, and it resembled something to do with the cricket. And so we came up with this, just one small sketch. If you look at it, we've got 4 cricket bats, and we've got the ball, and the entire tower is in the shape of a World Cup. We have got retail spaces downstairs, offices, residential, hotel, observatory deck, and revolving restaurant, and a museum for the cricketers as well. But it's on hold today because of the financial this thing. So this is yet to start, but this is started. This is the rehab where the people were already existing, staying over there. So we have housed them over here, and this tower is under construction now. This is another tower which is in Mumbai, and I'll come to that. This is 270 meters tall. This is 3 towers in Mumbai. It's yet to start. This is another tower in Mumbai, which is it will be starting shortly. So these are all redevelopment. Bombay doesn't have too much land, so whatever land is there, we are redeveloping, we are rehousing these people, and we are bringing them back, and we are using the sale component for generating revenue for them. So again, this is because of the urbanization and land is scarce. Mumbai is an island. It was 7 islands combined together, and we are a linear city, so we have to go vertical. So if you look at sustainability, high-rises have to be sustainable, and they have to be self-sufficient. So the tower we are doing in Sri Lanka, we have windmills over there. We have, so we are making that tower, and we designed that tower to make it a self-sufficient building. So it's very important, because if you look at the consumption, the highest consumption of energy is on a building itself. No other, you look at refineries and everything, they may be 9, 12, and this thing, and you see that that's the highest percentage that we require for a tower. So the other things, like if you see, as I said earlier also, we have to just not build vertical. We have to think sensible and build. Because when you build, that it's going to be there for the next couple of generations. So you have to design it in such a way that it is used maybe today as an office building, tomorrow maybe it can be transformed into a hotel building, or it can become a residential. So like today, after COVID, we learned the lesson that there were so many commercial buildings which were not doing well. We immediately reuse the buildings to become hotels. We reuse the buildings to become hospitals. So when we design whatever we construct, we should always think about it that it has to be reusable so that the sustainability angle is there. Otherwise, you just got to pull it down and this thing. So this is another example of, energy efficient buildings. And we are implementing a lot of these things in our buildings as well. Intermediate terraces, as I said earlier, double skin, the materials that we use, and the intermediate stacking. So what happens is you get wind circulation for the streetscape also. Otherwise, if you build towers, there is no when you're on the lower level in the city, you don't have enough ventilation. So if you have cutouts, and so these are all, it's not a design, it's not only a elevation element, it has got some reason why these have been done. So, okay, this is how the entire, high-rises are there, and we are somewhere here with 363 meters, and then this is the 340 meters, what we are doing in Mumbai. So we are trying to get there. We'll get there shortly. So I'd like to show you this tower, which is in Mumbai, and it's on Marine Drive. It's on Marine Drive, and then it's off Marine Drive, but then there's nothing in front. It's just the gymkhanas. So the views are amazing. And when we got this project, so if you look at the site, that's site is out here, and that's the whole Queen's Necklace, what we call in Mumbai, that the Marine Drive. And the price of the apartment facing the sea is, example, 1 lakh rupees a square feet. If you have an apartment facing the backside, it would drop down to 50%. So the client's requirement was that he wanted all the apartments to face the sea, and he wanted that, the views, which is going to give him the best revenue. So this was the site before we started, very old buildings, dilapidated buildings. That's the site, and if you see the whole, fabric of the city, it's low-rise and very high density. Hardly you can get into these buildings with a vehicle. It's impossible. You just have to walk. And so that's the sea when you look at the section. And these are all low-rise. Nothing is out here. This is this thing. And we have our tower sitting there at 351 meters. So that's one of the views. So you'll see the sea. And so I'll just go to the plan, then I'll explain to you more. So it had a very linear axis that is about 12 meters, which comes right into the main plot, and then we have the entire plot out here. That's the drop-off that we created. It's under construction now. Shortly you'll see that. But these are the visuals that we have done. So the entrance lobby, the drop-off areas, and then we come to the E-deck. So we have 8 levels of E-deck. So once you're at this level, these are all parking floors. Once you're at this level, from here you get the exact sea view, unobstructed sea view. And that's the E-deck, the swimming pool, and the entertainment areas. We have the gym out here, the club, and they have a restaurant there as well. So what we did, we had to consume uh, 8 lakhs of square feet, and we wanted the entire building, all the flats, to face the sea. So we managed to do it by taking the core on the backside. So we've got a dead wall out here, and this is one apartment, these are the other apartments, and because we have the whole sea going this way, so we got the entire flats to get the view. So on the lower floors, actually, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apartments. But once you come on the upper level, we have one apartment which is made larger. And the entire core is on the backside. So that's how the building sits. And this is the construction pictures that is there right now. We have come up quite a bit. So when you do something like this, it's a very big challenge, because this tower goes into torsion. I mean, as you'll go, you'll do larger projects and everything, then you'll understand what I'm trying to explain. So these buildings, these wings, they move differently, and the building goes into torsion when you actually do the simulation of the structure. So we had a challenge of that, and because we had dead walls on the backside, we created these structural elements which controlled that torsion, and we got all the views in the front. And in between, when we look at a service flow, so we have outriggers. As you grow, I mean, as you'll get into projects and all, you'll come to know what is an outrigger and this thing. An outrigger is something which holds the building and doesn't allow it to go into torsion. So I don't know if this can move. It's not doing. Anyway, but these are, simulations. If you, I don't know, it's not moving for some reason, but you can see how the building acts, when you have in the first mode, second mode, and third mode. So we actually do that study before we get onto the ground, and we, enforce the building, and we ensure that the building doesn't move in an earthquake. The other thing that is there when you're doing a high-rise, the major thing that is there is that you should have, wind plays a very important, more than earthquake, seismic load, wind is very important. I don't know if you've experienced when you go into a very high-rise building and there's a lot of wind, you can actually feel that the building is swaying. And before we get onto the ground, we do a wind tunnel testing. So we make a model, and it's an enclosure, and winds are simulated at the highest forces, and we see how the building acts in that kind of a situation, and we design it in such a way that it doesn't affect the people staying in the apartments, because it can be really you get nausea, you can get this thing. In a lot of buildings overseas, if you see, they put up a pendulum right on the top, or the water tank is designed in such a way that the water has got a freeboard, an extra freeboard. So when the building moves, the water goes to the other side and it retains the building from movement. So this is what we do before we start this wind tunnel testing. So that's myself. I started the studio in 1988 from Mumbai, and then we started growing into Pune, Ahmedabad, San Francisco, and we are over 150 staff. I did my architecture from Baroda, and we've been, And these are some of the other things that we do. This is what we do is architecture, that is high rises. We do a lot of interior designing spaces, master planning, and hospitality interiors, institutions, schools, colleges, retail spaces. This is another tower that is, we are doing, there are 3 towers actually. And again here, this is opposite the race course, and all the three towers are placed in such a way, and the land parcel is very small, very tight. So we placed all the towers in such a way that all of them get the race course view, and then you see the Haji Ali. So this is what I just showed you earlier. This is Ekta Tripolis. It's completed in Mumbai. And here again, the main area is the activity floor, which is the E-deck level. So that becomes like an extension to your living room. This is another tower we are doing, two towers rather, they're joined together. This is in the Gift City in Gujarat. This is the Link Square that is now under construction in Mumbai. This is another tower we are doing in Gift City again, where we have, this is a multi-level parking. So the city in Gift doesn't give you, they don't allow you to park on the streets. A lot of buildings do not have parking. So if you look at this cluster, all the parking is under this building. So it's a MLCP, what we call is multi-level car parking. The developers using the multi-level car parking, and then we have retail. And above that, we've got two buildings. One is a commercial building, and the other one is a hotel. And we have a restaurant which is connected between the two. That's another example of what we said earlier about terraces and various these things. So here, this is a fintech hub, and we have, startups, accelerators, and then larger companies. So they have interactive spaces out here. The startups have it here. The accelerators have it out here, and then the larger companies have it over here. So you don't have to come down every time if you want to interact. You have these terraces, and they are also, it helps because the wind passes through this tower and goes across. So the problem that is there, like for a wind tunnel testing, when you do, buildings normally resist and they do not allow the wind to pass. So when they do that, your structure becomes heavier. You have to design it to, withstand those wind forces. By doing these kind of tunnels through the building, you're helping the structure, you're making the structure lighter. This is another commercial building that we just completed in Mumbai, and it's on Linking Road. This is something we are doing in Goa. It's a hotel, and we have the swimming pool on the terrace. It's the largest swimming pool in India, actually. This is the hotel that we did in Ahmedabad. It's called the Taj. So we have a commercial building with retail, and that's the hotel block, which is 320 rooms. That's some of the other images of the interiors and the, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Reza sir, Thank you, Reza sir, for such an insightful session. I would like to ask questions, the audience. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask him. This is the opportunity. You can make the best use of it. Any question? Yeah.
Hello, sir. My name is Neeru. Sir, any piece of advice that you would want to give these the budding architects? What should be their vision into the new future that is ahead of us? What do you think that is going to help everybody in the near future? Thank you.
So, I would tell you my experience. 36 years after practice, still I'm learning. So keep your minds open. Don't think you know everything. You cannot be know-it-all. You got to learn every day. If you think that you know everything, that's the end of it. Because every day there is new stuff coming, new technology coming, and you have to be updated, you have to learn, you have to see what's happening in the world, and you have to educate yourself and implement it. So keep your eyes open. Even when you pass out, don't think you've learned everything. You've learned nothing. When I started, the first day when I came out of college, I came and I started working, and I was just given a piece of tissue paper, and on that there was a sketch by my boss, and he asked me to start drafting it. And I thought to myself, where do I start? And how do I start? So I could have, thought that I know everything, I passed out, so why? But that day I realized that I don't know anything, and I had to start learning all over again. So keep your minds open and keep learning. It's never the end of learning.
I would like to request the students to, yeah.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
So, there were a lot of high-rise buildings in your presentation. So, how do you manage the balance between like the aesthetics of the building and the high-rise? I mean, the structural component.
So that's what that's why I showed you this case study. Uh, we have got a lot of challenges. Like earlier when we were doing buildings, I started my practice, I'm not talking about anybody else. When I started my practice, we were doing 2-storied buildings, 3-storied buildings. We started going up to 7-storied buildings. And as we started growing up, we had a lot of challenges. And at that time, what we used to do, we used to design a building, then afterwards send the plan to the structural engineer. There was no MEP consultant at that time, and we were the MEP. We were supposed to give all the electrical drawings. We were supposed to give all the, drainage, plumbing, and everything. But today, it's all different. Today, when we are starting, inception itself, we get a structural engineer on board. We get an MEP consultant on board. We get traffic consultant, vertical transportation. So, because what happens is, when you're doing a 50-storied building or a 60-storied building or a 100-storied building, you should know the number of elevators that you require. So that's how you will finalize the core. How much drainage you require, what is the capacity of the tank you require. We don't put the entire tank like in the primitive way. You put the entire tank right on the top. We put intermediate tanks so that the load of the building is also reduced. The pressure is reduced, because if a water supply comes from the 70th floor to the first floor, you imagine what's going to happen. So we have intermediate tanks for every floor. So there are these things which are there. You have to get all your consultants on board, and you have to start working with everybody at that time. You cannot be an architect he's the main driver, he's the main, he's the pilot, but everybody else also has to be on board. So it's not me who's doing everything, it's the team. My team, the structural engineer team, the MEP team, the vertical transportation, there are so many, like the facade consultant, everything we get on board before we start designing. And you have to have all your drawings in place before you start a tower like this. You can't be doing, okay, let me give you 2 floors today and then give you 2 floors later. It doesn't happen that way. You have to design the entire building, the whole package is made, and then it is given to the contractors, the general contractors, and the various other contractors to start the tower. Yes.
Namaste, sir. I am Arjun from SJB School of Architecture. I am currently pursuing my thesis. I wanted to ask what are some mistakes that I can avoid after graduation and moving into the field when I start working?
So as I said, you have to keep your mind, ears open. Like myself, I'm telling you, whenever I go to a new place also, when I come here, I don't just come into the place. I'm seeing everything. Why was the ceiling done like this? Why was the flooring done like this? Is it done right? Is it not done right? So you have to be 24/7 if you're an architect. You cannot be like, okay, I shut my shop and I go home and that's over. That's not an architect. That's me. I'm 24/7. I'm thinking all the time. So many times I just, I'm trying to fit in a design, or my team is fitting a design and they show me something, I don't like it. And that thing keeps on playing in my mind. I go back home. Sometimes I'm just going to bed and sometimes you get a spark. And then I sit down and I start doing a sketch. Actually, my family, they say, why you come home? We don't know. So you have to be 24/7. That's
Thank
what
you.
I am, yeah.
Sir, you mentioned so many projects in Mumbai and other parts like Nagpur, which are, I think, 270 meters in height as well. We don't see that much in southern part of the country. Probably Hyderabad today has few of those projects, but not any other space. Do you have any reason why? Other than the norms,
I
of course.
think the land in Hyderabad is more, and you've got a bigger city, you've got a more uh, radial city, whereas Mumbai is a linear thing. So you have Nariman Point at one end and Virar at the other end. You have to travel, in a very straight line fashion. Of course, now with the coming of the coastal road, we are getting a kind of a ring road. Uh, if you see Ahmedabad or you see Bangalore or you see Hyderabad, they've got several ring roads. We never had anything, but now with the introduction of the coastal road, we are having something like a ring road coming up. I think that would be better. So we've crossed over into the mainland with the Atal Setu. There'll be development there as well. But Mumbai is the capital, commercial capital. And it's normally, if you see New York, if you see San Francisco downtown, if you see Chicago downtown, all these big cities, metro cities, they go vertical because of, one is the land prices and it's scarce. That is the main thing. I think that's, excuse me.
Hello, sir. So, since the theme this year is Exclaim, so regarding the issues faced by the people in the architectural fraternity, so could you throw some light on the pay structure or the internships?
Oh, sorry. I started my practice, I started working at 600 rupees. And when I started working at 600 rupees, my dad had a business. And we had drivers, we had employees. And when I used to go back home, my mom used to tell me, what is 600 rupees? Your driver is getting more. You've been to architecture college, you've studied for 5 years, and today you're getting 600 rupees. So you have to give it time. I told my mother, you give me 5 years, and I will show you what I can do. So you have to be at it, you have to dream, you have to achieve. And you can't stop. Today also I'm struggling. So life is a struggle, you have to keep on struggling. If you enjoy what you're doing, you'll never have to work. So I am enjoying architecture. If I enjoy architecture, money will flow. Initial phases in any practice, yes, when you look at students pass out, they go into a call center, they're getting very good pay. But they remain at that point itself. Their growth is restricted, their growth is limited. Here, your growth As you grow, your growth will grow, money will follow you. Even if you are a film star or a Bollywood or a Hollywood, you have a phase. Here you can go, sky is the limit. You can do what you want, but you have to be at it. So don't get disheartened. When you start, it's always that way. But you have to be at it.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to know, in terms of technology, in terms of software, how much does it drive your design? Because I was looking at all of those torsions and your over trigger points.
Yeah, this is because of software that we can do. When I started my practice, we were at the drawing board with a pencil, and clients used to come to us, and we were doing 3-storied, 4-storied, 7-storied. We used to do a plan. He used to come, he used to say, I don't like it. Say, come after 8 days. Okay? He used to come back after 8 days. Today, a client says something, and because we have the softwares, because we have the technology, right there, sitting in front of the client, he doesn't like something, we change it and we show it to him. So, it's technology. And when we are doing a lot of mixed use, you could not do a mixed use building without using BIM, without using 3D, this thing, without using, various other softwares, where you can think 3D, where you can develop the building before it is this thing. You're doing wind tunnel testing. If you didn't have the technology, how would you know how the building is going to act in the worst wind situation, in a cyclone? So you have to use technology.
Right. No, my question was more with regards to how much does it drive your design? Like, is it negligible, or is it like,
No.
it does affect your
See,
design?
I'll tell you one thing. When you conceptualize, you don't use technology. That is something, at least for me, it comes from the heart, sketching. You start sketching, you work on the basic this thing, and once that sketch is crystallized, your concept is there, then you get into a lot of technology. I know a lot of students who come, in the trainees, or once they passed out, they come and they start, on the computer straight away. Well, maybe they're trained that way, that's why they can think on the computer. I'm from the old school, so maybe I don't have the vision to think, on a computer, so that's why I do it on sketching. And then we get into, the detailing, or, even first is the concept, next comes to the detailing, and also we get into that in 3D and all those various softwares. So it plays a very important role. And then BIM, if you do 3D, you can even pass it on to the contractors. You can get your quantities, you can get various other materials and everything inserted right at that point. So you can do simulations, you can do vertical transport, you can see how the elevators are there, how many elevators are there, size of the elevators, all those things you do that later. Okay.
Do we have any further question?
Hi, good evening. This question is not from the perspective of the buildings, but it is from the perspective of a user. When I mean user is, my father used to work in home ministry, and I used to go to his office at that time when I was small. They had these cemented buildings, 8 floors, 9, 10 floors. And there was never, even in summers, it was always used to feel very cool inside. Now working in corporate, when I sit in my office with glass windows everywhere, even in summers we have to put on different fans apart from the AC which is working on. So, and my father always used to say that these AC buildings or these glass buildings are not meant for India because of the culture, because of the temperature point of view, and specifically North India where temperatures go up to 47, 48. So is it something viable that we are going towards these glass buildings more?
Yeah, so see, most of these corporate buildings that are there, they want to rent them out faster, and they want to do, because they've already, they're built to suit for somebody. So it comes up faster, but there is a science to it. It's not that easy. So now that we are doing a lot of, what we call is the cooling from the floor itself. So we cool the floor, what's it called? I'm just not getting the name. So you do not cool from the ceiling. We have proper glass, so you do not have energy losses. So all that we calculate before we do a building. And it is all taken care of. It's no more like first I showed you when you have the first generation of the buildings where they were single glass. They were annealed. They were not even toughened because their technology wasn't there. Now we are using triple gauge glass. So the light efficiency, and we do all the simulations, like we do the light penetration, how much light is coming in at the drawing board itself. All those kind of things we do before we actually get into construction. Yeah.
All right, then do we have any further question? Okay. All right. So I think we are almost, at the end of the session. I would like to welcome Ria from NASA India, the program manager, program coordinator. Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ria from the Programs Committee of NASA India. So when we first started off this venture with LIXIL, we wanted to provide a platform for students to interact with industry professionals and architects with their expertise. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to LIXIL Studios and also to architect Reza Kabul for this captivating masterclass, and also for sharing his experiences on various topics, and also to the students who could make it this evening in peak traffic in the weekend and also university schedules. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On behalf of Groha Intellect, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Reza sir. And once again, thank you all for joining us this evening, and enjoy your entire evening, the rest of the evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. No, I'm good.